All right, lads, buckle up, because today is a massive day one that's sure to stir up some serious debate. I'm coming to you as a guy who still has no idea what a Raptor ranking really is. But despite that, the latest news is in, and this mysterious Raptor ranking now claims Caitlin Clark is no longer the best rookie in the WNBA. Yes, you heard that right. Caitlin Clark, who has been dominating in almost every stat imaginable, has somehow dropped in the rankings. And if you're just as confused as I am, sit tight because we've got a lot to go through. So for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the latest, ESPN dropped their updated rookie rankings. For naturally, you'd think Caitlin Clark would still be at the top spot. She's been playing out of her mind, right? But instead, ESPN decided to throw a curveball. They changed the criteria, now using these Raptor stats to determine the rankings. All of a sudden, Clark isn't number one anymore. She's number two. And why? Because of something called Raptor wins, a stat that honestly I don't think anyone really understands. Now, what in the world is a Raptor win? I've got no idea, and I'm not alone in this confusion. It's one of those stats that feels like it's been cooked up in some analytics lab, far removed from what we're actually seeing on the court. Not what's bowing. But here's the part that really blows my mind. Caitlin Clark, who is leading in practically every important stat, points, assists, steals, blocks, field goal percentage, team success, you name it, is still somehow behind in this magical Raptor ranking. How does that even make sense? Let's break it down a bit. Caitlin Clark's stats this season are nothing short of incredible. She's not just one of the top scorers in the league. She's leading all guards in rebounds, she's creating offense, and she's doing it efficiently. In head-to-head matchups, in team performance, in just about every tangible way, Clark has been the most dominant rookie this year. Yet here we are with some Raptor stat telling us otherwise. Meanwhile, Reese, the player who's ranked above her in Raptor wins, has been solid, no doubt. But if you stack their stats side by side, Clark comes out on top in almost every category. The only area where Reese leads is in rebounds, and even then, Clark is the top rebounding guard in the entire NBA. But according to these rankings, that doesn't seem to matter. It's mind-boggling. And it doesn't stop with Clark and Reese. The Raptor ranking system also has players like Juju Watkins ranked ahead of Clark. Now, Juju Watkins is shooting 26 from 3 this season. Let that sink in, 26%. And somehow she's ranked higher than Caitlin Clark, who's putting up numbers across the board that blow Lloyd's out of the water. This is where the absurdity of these advanced stats really starts to show. I get that advanced stats are supposed to give us more insight into a player's impact, but this Raptor stat, it's losing me. Take Bri Jones, for example. According to this system, she's ranked as the 9th best player in the WA this season. And now Jones is a good player, but 9th best in the league, that's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? Then there's the case of Kaya Copper. This one really takes the cake. Copper, who has been instrumental for the Phoenix Mercury, is ranked 35th in wins generated. The Mercury won 9 games last season without her this year. With Copper leading the charge, they've nearly doubled their win total and are comfortably in the playoff race. Yet somehow, Copper doesn't even crack the top 30 in these rankings. That just doesn't sit right with me. It's as if these numbers are completely detached from what we're seeing unfold on the court. Kind of way where. Which brings us back to this lentil question. What exactly is a Raptor win? I've tried looking into it, and it's still as confusing as ever. Even worse, this isn't the only stat making things more difficult to understand. There's also something called consensus wins, another metric that leaves me scratching my head. Clark is ranked 16th in consensus wins, with Reese at 23rd. Ouch. But again, we see players like Juju Watkins somehow ranked ahead of Clark, and at this point, I'm starting to wonder if we're just throwing random numbers into an algorithm to see what sticks. It's not just Clark and Reese who are being impacted by this ranking system. You've got players like Satou Sabally, who's been absolutely killing it this season, ranked 61st in Raptor. Yes, you heard that right. 61st Sabally, who's been playing at an all-NBA level, is ranked behind players who are barely making an impact. And if you're wondering how that's possible, join the club. And let's not forget about rookies like JC Sheldon, who's been having a really solid season, but finds herself near the bottom of the league in wins generated. Why? Because she's on a weaker team. It's as if the system is punishing players for things beyond their control, like the strength of their supporting cast or the performance of their team as a whole. It's not just unfair, it's flawed, so where does this leave us? The fact is, these rankings are completely out of sync with reality. No matter how much we want to rely on advanced stats to provide deeper insight into player performance, these Raptor stats are failing to tell the full story. Caitlin Clark has been nothing short of spectacular this season, And the fact that she's not sitting at the top of every rookie ranking is just plain wrong. But this isn't just about Caitlin Clark. When we put too much stock in advanced metrics that most people can't even understand, we end up with results that just don't make sense. Should Kaya Copper, who has been pivotal in turning the Mercury season around, really be ranked 35th in wins generated? Absolutely not. At some point, we've got to trust what we're seeing with our own eyes. And what I'm seeing is Caitlin Clark having one of the most impressive rookie seasons in recent memory, while these stats try to convince us that players shooting 26 from 3 are somehow doing better. It's just not adding up. In the end, these rankings aren't going to stop Caitlin Clark from playing her game. She's still going to go out there and dominate. For me, that's Stali. But the problem is these flawed rankings impact how she and other players are perceived by fans, media, and award voters. That's where the real issue lies. When we over-rely on stats that clearly don't align with reality, we end up undervaluing the players who are genuinely making a difference on the court. So I'm going to keep an eye on how this shakes out. As we get closer to the end of the season, ESPN might not release an updated article in time to give Caitlin Clark the #1 spot she deserves. But let's be clear, she's earned it. The only question is whether these rankings will reflect that. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Are you as baffled by these Raptor rankings as I am? Do you care about these advanced stats, or are you ready to toss them aside and trust what you see on the court? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I have a feeling I'm not alone in thinking these rankings are way off. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.